Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center, I'd like to welcome you all to the LA book launch, Faunalia by Alice Fulmer. Please give it up. My name is Jimmy Vega. I am the Assistant Director of Beyond Baroque. I'd like to start by acknowledging Beyond Baroque's presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Tonga peoples. We acknowledge the wrong done to these peoples through settler colonialism, genocidal practices, and the violent disposition of their land. As an arts organization, we are committed to uplifting Indigenous communities, their stories, and cultures. For those who don't know, Beyond Baroque is Los Angeles' oldest literary arts center, located here in Venice, California. Founded in 1968, first as an experimental literary magazine, before reimagining itself and becoming the literary institution we know it as today. We're based out of the original Venice City Hall and help support writers and help cultivate new writing through our extensive program of writing workshops, readings, and performances. We're currently offering a number of workshops online via Zoom, such as our free weekly Monday night fiction workshop, facilitated by Raquel Baker, and our historic Wednesday night poetry workshop, currently facilitated by Jim Cushing. We also have a number of paid in-person workshops, such as our Flash and Four More, a creative writing experience with Tisha Marie Reichley Aguilera, with more workshops being offered throughout the year as well. And aside from our workshops, we offer several readings throughout the year. Tomorrow, in collaboration with LA Poets Society, will feature the second annual Queer Writers Festival, showcasing work from Tracy Kato Kitayama, Ambi Flores, and Melissa Bañales, aka Missy Fuego. So do please come back for all of that. And next week, in fact, we are hosting Begin at the Palace of Zero, a reading featuring the work of F. Douglas Brown, Dana Levin, and Natalie J. Graham. So for more info on all of that, please visit our website at beyondbaroque.org. And finally, we offer several memberships to Beyond Baroque, starting at $60 for an individual membership. Purchasing a membership allows us to continue to offer free online workshops, free programs such as today, and it just keeps us going. A big thanks to our wonderful staff, our executive director, Quentin Ring, programs coordinator, Ivan Salinas, our interns, Genesis Perez and Catherine King, and our facilities coordinator, man in the booth, Eric Alberg. A big special thanks to Alice herself and Doris for being here with us tonight and for allowing me to read with y'all as well. And last but not least, a warm thank you to Karen Kevorkian, who has helped to, spruce up the place and was, one of our mentors of Alice and I when we were in undergrad. So thank you so much, Karen. But without all that being said, let's get started with the reading. First up, we have Doris Rubio, who is a Latina punk from San Diego, California. She likes rollerblading, reading, dancing, and eating her arepitas con crema y pimiento. In 2021, she was the featured poet at Bread and Salt's Palabra, hosted by Puna Press. Her publications include Questions for Henry Rollins, Unibrow, for Freezery Poetry, issue number 17, 2019, Lefty for Kinda Bummed Magazine 2023, and A Través del Espejo for Pacific Review's The Mirror Maze 2021. From San Diego, please give it up for Doris Rubio.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say again, thank you so much, Alice. I love you. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for having me here. This is the summer we had our own house before stepdad moved in. My SAD poem. Sounds of broom bristles brushing water over concrete, heat melting me into earth, head half submerged. Sound of my own heartbeat filling my mouth with an exhale, heat thick and comforting, head like a cotton ball soaked. Sound of mother's music hits the air and I watch her lazy green hose trumpet water onto grass. Heat makes the runoff collecting in the divot of our front cracked sidewalk a lukewarm bath. Head floats along horizon suspended in the summer of my childhood. Sounds of buzzards, midday crickets, of cumbia pouring from stereos through windows, of death thumpings of water on zacate, of my breath in and out as I lay here, as my mother sprays the lawn and leaves a little extra for me to enjoy in the ghetto of my makeshift pool. Heat makes the memory a fever dream. Head holds on to the feeling so that I forever associate the sun with security. Thank you. This is The Good Times Are Killing Me. And though I am writing to say goodbye, know that I'll never forget the good days. The bare feet pushing a seaside hammock as we watched the clouds pull and drift apart, cotton-spotted ocean sky days. The hikes we took across the world we will probably never take again with anyone else days. All the days we spent motionless, our mouths moving restless, as you told me things you'd never admitted to yourself, and I spent nights wishing I'd let you in. There are days I can still feel our fingers twining, untwining, your thumb tracing my wrist, soft curtains of silence broken by heavy breathing and the involuntary, obligatory ums and ahs of a love we swore we'd never felt before. I'll remember the wet splotch of kisses to chin, to eyebrow, lid, and lip, to any space of skin on body days. Remember how love then meant a thing consuming, and we were a thing to be consumed. I like to think that those good days will always be there, as if the bad days never happened. Maybe there exists a timeline where the things we wanted outweighed the things we needed, and maybe even then we still don't end up together. But I'll never forget your eyes the first time ours met, across the crowded street. How you smirked like a child ready to throw a ball in a room full of glass, with all the mischievous innocence of not knowing regret. I'll never forget the pain of picking up the pieces, of looking back at every good day through a broken lens. Thank you. How to break hearts. And how do you do that? Look someone in the eye and break their heart, or are you a coward? Do you pick up the phone, imagine the tears, salty and fat, messy, black irises blurred and corneas red? Do you confront it? The endless ringing in your ears, answer the door, answer your phone. Do you open up? Do you sit by the window, wait for their car to drive off? Watch them ride their bike down the block? Do you pretend not to notice them looking back? Do you pack up your room in silence? Do you hug them one last time? Do you hang up? And what do you do after? Your hands, do they feel weak? Do they shake? Do they twiddle around a lit up screen? Do you erase everything because sorry will never be enough? And why are you sorry when you wanted this? Who gave you the right? Do you call them, take it back? Do you bargain? Do you cry? Are we allowed to cry? Do you pray? Do you pray for them, for yourself? Do you still believe in God, in love? Do you hear your tías whisper in your ear, en el nombre del Padre, del Hijo, el Espíritu, ay santo? Do you see that ghost in your closet? The long black sleeve haunting the hanger, the band shirt you pretend not to remember is theirs. Do you give it back? Do you throw it away? Do you wear it even though after 10 washes, it will always smell like them? Do you burn a candle? Do you hide from the memory, wear a mal de ojo and put out a glass of water? Did you delete all their friends from social media, or do you watch meticulously, hoping to see something, hoping to resolve yourself of this guilt, of the witch in the mirror, the whisper in your ears, maldita pera, puta sin corazón? Whose voice do you hear? Whose voice do you want to? They only want you when you're not you, and they will demand that you be forgiving. Without ever asking for forgiveness, they want you sweetness, weakness, buckling at the knees, bend over, they will say. Suddenly, you are a boundary waning past shoulders, hips, you become a lip bit, a fistful of sheets and a furrowed brow in the aftermath of a groan, a nod in place of confrontation, a sigh in place of satisfaction, and they don't care to know because they never ask. They don't want the responsibility of your humanity. They would rather you be a doll all the time, begging to be posed without pretty on purpose and without any other purpose than to be pretty when they pull you out of that box they imagined for you in their head. And they never want to know how you wish you could just be plastic, just be happy, just not be so complex, so full of need, so alive. They'll never ask about the days that made you want to die. They don't care about that Sunday morning, Christmas Day, how they left you empty like a stocking, unwanted and ravaged, laying in the silence of a door closing. How your ears were ringing and you swore you could hear someone that sounded just like yourself moaning from somewhere far away. How you were bruised, ego-tender, and could still feel the uncomfortable rhythm of fingers fidgeting hurriedly in every direction except one that felt good. And theirs is a type who believes that they contain multitudes, when I have seen them fit neatly into every box they think they pulled us out of. um, this is the art of speaking. I think about words all the time. The ones I say, the ones I can't. Not because I am a master, but because it is an art I have been vying to master my entire life when I speak. It often tumbles out in the language of impulsion and littered profusely with profanity when I am drinking. My tequila-triggered tongue only knows how to fight or cry, and she sometimes dabbles in the slang of, where was I going with this? Quite possibly, I was drunk when I told you those beautiful things you said came from my lips, because quite possibly I cannot reach whatever delicate delusions her beer-flowered breath promised you. Soberly, I forget all those quiet musings about the ocean foaming at the mouth, swallowing us off the planet, and all I can remember is the sound of your voice is way too fucking loud in the morning. I'm not sure I can reach beauty, not without something to subdue the rage that wants to take its place, spitting at the world. She speaks only in harshness, a k sound, this sober, odorless pain, my tongue a kick drum, punching at eardrums, a verbal assault, a dizzying song of dirty motherfucker, empty jerk. Because you were so goddamned well-spoken, sitting across from me, hiding behind easy charm, smacking out honeyed words on your prickly tongue, words that meant nothing to you. Well, the only words I could manage to spew out were I hate you and I will never speak to you again. But the ones that didn't come were I'm sorry and you were my best friend. So I obsess over words, the right ones, the sober ones, the written one that can be rewritten, erased, taken back, because chaos is continually heaving from my lips. Eradura chased bile as I master empty promises to God, to myself. Blood in my spit, the taste of metal in my mouth, the stupid words I say out loud, my sharp regret skewering every conversation. Oh, these fickle friends I keep, alcohol and poetry, though I am terribly incomprehensible when I speak, with my shipwrecked mouth, my train-trekked tongue, conspiring against me, every regrettable fuck you and shit goddamn, and you making me the villain of my own story. I will spend the rest of my life writing and rewriting so that every sentiment is a constant, and maybe I can learn to master this mouth like a ship, conquer the waves of bullshit like once upon a time, and happily ever after, sink this whale that swallows every relationship. I think about words all the time, the ones that were said, the ones I couldn't, because my entire life I could never speak without my mind wrestling anxiety and my tongue kissing confusion, and quite possibly I want to be drunk, so I can tell you those beautiful things you said came from my lips. Quite possibly I cannot stand those sweet little sentiments without something to subdue the fear that takes its place, reacts violently. And I will carry with me the words I never spoke out loud, envying you for the rest of my life because you were so goddamned well-spoken, though nothing you said meant anything at all. Here I am, a master of drinking and laying myself bare, and nothing I say changes anything at all. And this is probably the last one I say. New wounds. I am sitting elbow gashed and bloodied, floored, fluttering, fingers flitting to find the letters that might make words of the feelings stinging through me. The folk punk singer screaming in my ear, reminding me it's okay to cry, to lick my wounds, how beautiful it is to have wounds to lick. I martyr once a week. I put on my skates. I feel my feelings. No pads, no helmets. No intention of ending up exactly where I always do, bleeding from someplace bearable, adapting to the pain. I am aware that damage can often be predicted if anticipated. When I am expecting to fail, if I let myself fall the way I have been taught, I can possibly avoid all injury. Unfortunately, possibility is never a true predictor of reality. I have jumped 1,000 curbs, but it only took one to sprain my wrist. And maybe I haven't dated 1,000 men, but it only takes one to make you never want to jump again. The last time I opened myself to possibility, I was too busy enjoying the ride. I forgot everything I knew about falling. I forgot everything I knew about falling. It hurt once plus 1,000, the muscle memory of every stumble preceding and amplifying, pain compounding. I took every embarrassing stumble, every you don't know how to break, every why weren't you wearing pads, wasn't it obvious, and every I wanted you, your body, not your person, on the chin like I was taught. But the pain still lingered for months, and if I move my wrist down, twisting slightly to the left, I still can't do full push up. I still can't fully trust that the weight of what I want won't buckle under pressure. I think about how another fall might make the old injury worse, that no matter how healed you are liable to hurt once plus 1,000. Pain compounds. And I often forget about how the shame of being vulnerable can sometimes hurt more than the impact itself. I never hid my scars, but I always hoped no one would notice. I don't think I could explain 1 plus 1,000. But I am sitting, elbow gashed and bloodied, flustered, finding new ways to talk about you to my friends, to anyone that will listen, while my fingers are lacing up my skates and wiping away blood. I am not wearing pads. I probably never will. I know how to brake. I have probably jumped 1,000 curbs. I'm kissing you on your couch, no helmet. My wrist still fucking hurts. But I love the way you touch me, and I'm fully expecting to fall. But I'd rather fall once plus 1,000 than never skate again. Thank you.
Well, good evening. Thanks for coming out for poetry. It's a big deal, actually, in this day and age. I'm up here not to start reading, actually, but two things. One is I, as well as we at Beyond Broke and Jimmy and everyone else, we're encouraging folks tonight, forever, to donate some funds over to the Trans Latina Coalition. This is a mutual aid organization primarily based in transgender Latinx communities. And Jimena, their marketing coordinator, the sweetest doll, they wanted to be here, but it's Pride, and everyone is doing their thing, right? So next time I won't have a book release during Pride. Instead, I'll have it during Mardi Gras or something. But anyways, we do have some QR codes kind of littered throughout the place. Also too, if I realize that there's some familiar friends here. If you're in touch with any of my social medias, I also have some links up. And yeah, we should be supporting trans lives as often as we can, as well as just communities inside our own, outside our own. So I wanted to go ahead and highlight their work. But the second reason I'm up here is the great pleasure of introducing my colleague, Jimmy Vega, who I met at least one lifetime ago at UCLA in a poetry workshop with, who was it? Karen Kevorkian, who is also in the audience tonight. It's always a pleasure, Karen. But really, there's more than enough in their work to speak for itself, but I would like to introduce to the stage my dear friend and colleague, Jimmy Vega, to read.
Thank you, Alice. And yes, please support trans folk tonight and always. This first poem is titled No Fun, No Love. Bludgeon the cop in your head, mousetrap to the dome. Your dead won't hold you. Dos ex machina, come, crash into me. This isn't an axiom. Cerebral car crash in silver streets. Someone asks if I really like the Dodgers while you breastfeed the one that you survived. And it always comes back to Foucault and the proliferation of surveillance, you watching me, watching you, watching my own death on TV. So what if I'm no fun anymore? Define praxis or agape or gargantuan. Define my long list of confessions, my brief prayers, my sacrilege sacrifice. Yes, maybe your absence is presence. Maybe my sleep-deprived molcajete eyes are rummaging for honest sleep. Can't find a decent parking space on the east or the west side. Can't find the little halo tucked away in my conglomerate lethargy. On South Pasadena Ave, palms a-glittering, Santa Ana's blanket my private vigil. In a city of parking lot infrastructures, it isn't enough to try and find you. Yes, this is an apology, but in the Aristotelian sense. Flat Cherry Coke Bad Day Hood lyric, a new American classic. Whisper it. On Great Salt Paloma, 108th Street, owls at dusk are pantoums perched on palms. They too forgive. This next one is actually a piece that I was collaborating with for a performance that happened in this theater, a dance performance. And me and some friends wrote poems, and then one of our friends, Brian, kind of picked different fragments from those poems and collaged it into this video um, kind of montage. But this is the full poem this is the poem in full. It's titled "On Letting Go." If I lost you, if I lost you, did I lose you? Some loves are not loves, but gaping holes without sound, cold, wet kiss on gloom asphalt. If I lost you, my love, I'd never know how to lose. Lustrous dream sleep. Some losses are a moonlit mirror cascading non-reflection. Seasons of letting go, murmurs of closeness without letting go, buried in soil that is sky, that is rain. If I lost you, did echoes cry mountains? Was glinting petrichor stitched in my vertebrae? Um, these next couple of poems are from a project that I was working on with ghazals. And for those of you who don't know, a ghazal is a 7th century Persian poetry form. And what I did was I kind of took that inspiration and kind of made my own ghazal form that I ended up calling the ghazal graft. And this project started with the playlist because it involves lyrics from songs. So at the top, there'll be a borrowed line. At the bottom or at the close of the poem, there'll be a borrowed line. But essentially, I'm working with a closed form here. What else to note about this? For this particular kind of remix of the ghazal, there are 6 couplets and there's 12 lines with a hard syllabic count of 14 syllables per line. So that's all to say that it's really constrained. This first one is Wave of Mutilation, and it's from the Pixie song. Night I ceased to resist. I forgot to give my goodbyes. Choke swallowed bath water till I taste porcelain sky. My father found me, a forgotten poem. Wet, cold, drenched, my left cerebral hemisphere. Blue, quivery, shy, underwater, under-influenced. There's too much pain in living. There's too much living in pain. Instead, I lie, water in lungs. I couldn't feel temperature of a room on fire. Hey, what was that last song you heard before I died? Before filling the tub and staining it with marine tears, before searching for me at the bottom of blue goodbyes, before you find me in before, I drive my car into the ocean. You call my name in 3 letters, say goodbye. And this next one is titled Sister Ray. I'm working still in the same format, and it's from the Velvet Underground. Passenger seat, white Miata coupe whiplash, searching for my main line, somewhere near Eastlos or red jagged careen of my pounding skull, as if turning up the volume, distorted slack brings us closer, zero traffic relief, getting high and driving like sharing Eucharist, communal and less heavy. Why were we driving fast? car seat confession shy, vomited, green beers and Vicodin, no cup holder to hold my backwash neuroses. Maybe if we crash and die on the 710, we might cure our blue, messy headache resonance, sharing cigarettes inside brake light staccato size. Before I crack split my head open like yolk, you say, "Hey, Jim, don't you know, you'll stain the carpet unless you twice die." Part of the ghazal format means you have to kind of include the poet's name at the end of the line, so that was why my name is there. This is a new piece. It's called "We Go to Washington Next Week." Language, it seems, does not snake. A cross street without name dimly lingers. Never have I ever smiled, catching gaze of a Monet. Inside a dentist's office, pressure crystallizes into plastic ocean sawdust, and I am no longer fun, no longer a myopic twinkle, a familiar harmony, a long wavering sentimentality. This is what they call a poem in semiotics. In the morning, you say a word like oscillating. This next piece is for someone who isn't here tonight. The title is actually stolen from a text message that this individual sent to me. And in the poem, there's a borrowed line from W.S. Merwin. And there's also a refrain of "For No Reason at All," which is a borrowed lyric from Roar's title song, "I Can't Handle Change." Listening to your playlist while driving made me feel like I was in your car again going around LA. For Damien. Driving the 5, thinking of Damien for no reason at all. I hold his surrender inside the back pocket of my iris. Ways he hurt himself to bury a dead name. Dark sleepy eye, acquiesce shapeshifter. I miss the color of his grogginess. Taiwanese night market rummaging for his mother's shadow in dizzy streets of burgundy bone broth, warm salt and ash tucked in no light. I'd reach for the fish bones stuck in his throat if he let me. Driving the 5, I scream, suffocate my goddamn self past Griffith Park, thinking of Damien for no reason at all. I hold his smile inside the trunk of my under the influence self-aware pity. Mirrorless gaze haunts me. I wonder if I ever gave Damien enough of my love. My love. I hope you're okay in the bay. I hope you don't stumble around searching for your keys in the morning for no reason at all. I suffocate myself only to recall October sunset embers, fire burnt mid-city late drives and swallowing ash. Probably could have died if I made that right lane switch. Heard your voice instead. I've been trying to find you inside a Merwin poem, a later piece without punctuation. And it's the saddest ones who have the raspiest voices. Why'd you leave me in a city that is constantly burning? Driving the 5, whispering to myself, who's Judas in all of this? Thinking of Damien for no reason at all. I stroke my lament till it becomes prayer or sacrilege fragment. Some of the old colors still there. I've been searching for you between quintessence and dusk. Have you finally collected your teeth? And this last piece was written during the 2020-21 uprisings. The title of the poem is a remix of Whitman's Song of the Bleeding Throat, which is from the poem When Lilacs Last in the Dooryard Bloomed. And there's also a line in here that is borrowed, that is from the band Dangers. This one's called Song of Bleeding Throats. Thank you, Alice, for inviting me to read. Los Angeles is on fire. Scorched streets toned in technicolor and rancid cempasúchil ash. Someone lights a cop car in flames. Tear gas kisses my cornea, tickles my throat like razor wire, rattling my lungs, and someone baptizes me in cool milk. My face drips. Someone punches a cop, and I make a wish. Hands outstretched, open palms, searching for God or loose cigarettes. I can't breathe on Fairfax and 3rd. I can't breathe with a fist down my throat. I can't breathe with a face kissing pavement. I can't breathe in sleeper holds. I can't breathe in tobacco-stained roads. I can't breathe with the baton licking my spine. I can't breathe with pepper spray coloring my iris. I can't breathe when we're choking on words like pig. I can't breathe when rubber bullets hemorrhage my prefrontal lobe. I can't breathe when I'm too busy coughing up a lung. I can't breathe when my face is buried in tierra. I can't breathe cuando me amarran la lengua. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Carbon monoxide tints the air green and someone holds an ACAB sign. I can smell burnt fingertips reaching towards lit canisters. I can't breathe, and it ain't the fucking face mask. Someone says the dumpsters in Santa Monica are a lot nicer than the ones in Venice. The 405 southbound, slack and slightly overcast. Green freeway signs scribbled in post-semantics. I keep driving 95 on the 405 before I reach inside my epidural hematoma just to taste the fever of my city persimmon and afterglow. I can't breathe in Los Angeles. My breath arrested. My voice cyanotic. Thank you. Next up, my extreme pleasure to welcome to the stage Alice Fulmer, an MA PhD student at the University of California, Santa Barbara, and poet. She is pursuing the medieval studies emphasis and planning a prospectus on digital culture and late medieval British manuscript culture. Her debut collection, Faunalia, which we do have in the bookstore for sale, On Gods and Radicals, Ratona Press, is a love letter to the great god Pan. I'm extremely proud of you, Alice, and I'm super happy that you've brought this book into the world. Please welcome and please make some noise for Alice Fulmer.
Is this thing on? I heard it's omnidirectional. Oh boy. Well, a few things. Again, I'll say it again. Thanks for coming out. I also totally didn't mean to make our friend Damien cry, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to do that because I was thinking of the workshop days of ours at UCLA, and well, I mean, if we're playing with form here, I do have a duplex that I wrote for Jimmy and Damien once upon a time. For those unfamiliar, the duplex. It's engineered by Jericho Brown, great poet out of, I know he finishes BA at New Orleans at least. Wonderful man, lovely, handsome, talented, all of that. And the duplex, I think I'm all the same a little too nervous to explicate the form, but what I would say is that the lines frequently borrow from one another. Not unlike the Guzzlecraft. Also, give it up for Jimmy. Wow. working with guzzles. Okay. When I'm out of the 14th century, I'll meet you there. I'll never be out. This is a duplex for Jimmy and Damien. A poem is a drum of capricious rhythm, scraped from a soul's skin grafts, bones broken, scraped from a scalp's mock top, hairline broken, stethoscope lines psychoanalyze, cold stethoscope on chest lies, anxious eyes. Metal memories hammer iron on tongue, memories of touch that a blacksmith smelted on. They rest near the chest, moth sanctuary bellyache. They never rest, heavy with iron, kundalini earthquake. Coming with the breeze, going with nylon, astroturf lawns. Going with the breeze, breathing with the yawns. The body is a garage sale with no tags or boxes. Our bodies are an estate sale of crucifixes and crosses. A poem, a drum, Pandora's box of capricious rhythm. Thank you. Well, you know I'm a real academic because I'm drinking sparkling water. I swear I never had the taste before grad school. It's true. It's true. So I guess getting into this silly little book here, Faunalia. There's a couple different ways to pronounce it. The big thing is the faun, right? So like Jimmy mentioned, it is the primary muse of the god Pan, who I have on a tattoo here for those at home. You can't see the line work, but it's fantastic. I don't know. I kind of just when I discovered Faunalia, it's a holiday. First off, so it's my birthday, and it's a Roman holiday. I think celebrated just outside Rome on Tiber Island, where they would have dance, wine, orgies. I'm sure anything under the sun, right? So can't have all that tonight, but I do have some poems. So this kind of opens up the book. It's called Faunalia Refrains, and just kind of a litany of scenes of, I guess, what I consider Faunalia, the spirit of it that I guess kind of outgrew the holiday for me, but it started there. So, this is Faunalia Refrains. That time, Aeneas dropped anchor off the central coast of California in a strait between the Channel Islands, making a curious water pipe out of a Thracian urn, smoking the resin of consequences from the classics in America? Let's call it Faunalia. When, after sitting outside their high school Latin class, those students of whimsy on rainy days come inside, huddling their desks to meet as a hearth, and watch the cartoons in perfect meter? Let's call it Faunalia. The Tim Burton kid and the Oingo Boingo stand, a pocket full of band pins between them in an older, full-size sedan with the Bajas blasting? Let's call it Faunalia. The sake of spooks and spangles of an aging, weeping willow just outside a small theme park's haunted house attraction, with a bronze satyr statue dancing unprompted and gaily direct into once upon a time lovers. Let's call it Faunalia. An obscured Roman festival to their god of shepherds, sex, loud noises, and long beards pouring like time scrolls, and wild dogs galloping vernal along the humid banks of Tiber Island? Let's call it Faunalia. The weight of coffee highs and valleys low, Dido lips and Sappho thighs, Susie eyes and hand-me-down leather, a crossed eye with a softer gender. Let's call it Faunalia. The overzealous cigarette break far behind the din of midnight before the taxes were raised. Remember that? 40 paces from the toy store halfway out of business, and the young smoker still hours away from delayed bliss of late night sleep purge through the morning and the sparks of an afternoon. Let's call it Faunalia. That serenity locked in a near-dead mall taught well in the middle of memories meant to be ephemeral, hardly tighter than the binding of cellophane, which wrapped the plastic relics of 1999. The taste of translucent colors, those stained glass stories of a near digital age, all in one uniform morpheme which faded faster than Icarus's virgin voyage to the sun? Let's call it Faunalia. The first zephyrs of spring running fast off a winter's gone decline, where the first green bangs the onlooker, their brow busted. So to herbally lobotomize the dregs of holiday, dead, and dread. Let's call it Faunalia. Thank you. Well, let's see. What's the phrase? Something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. Well, I got a few of those things. I guess in terms of something new, I did bring a little something for you. So this is a new piece, actually, in my second manuscript. I'm about halfway through it, happy to say. Hoping to double the page count this summer, but we'll see. So I guess as for the something blue, I don't know. I think Joni Mitchell's Blue turned 50 a few days ago. Let's get up for Joni Mitchell, everyone. There we go. Thank you. This is Morning Country. Moaning in morning, candor bereft of vivid, cute dreams, with dead malls lit putt-putt-putt of mini-golf off to the land of Limele. I am struck morning in the country of morning, calling and cawing, flag half-mast forever, foray of hell, and hee-haw halogen light bulbs hailing the monstrum of halitosis goodbyes, the stinge and stink of letting the tepid desire paths go in growth. An implosive bloom and a final blast of the long-brined past, and some Halloweened eels of hurt and callous subterranean, rent for the heart. This land has crashed, the combine harvester of life's would-be rich harvest, more dust on the heart space. I am mourning the country constantly and scorning as I scan the lines, the sulking kind round the back of literature's alley, to check on the girls turning tricks for a Rambo Byron or Perk Beef Shelley type. Intimacy is a button. Boop, boop. Let's ride the ferry to the dead coral, take a SpongeBob bite out of those polyps. Hemorrhoids of the sea. My passport stamp for morning, the loss of precious sun time, mulling campsite washed out dawn. I wish morning was forever so I wouldn't have to go to sleep for it. Right now, sleep is a sealed rail car, onto the ruby studded, right down to the unconscious. I wake up to mourn, my mourn to wake, can't wake up in the mornings. But I never hear the lyrics so clearly. Is California a girl? Thank you. All right, so getting into, let's start. So there's this longer poem. Actually, some of it I think I did workshop with Karen and Jimmy and Damien all those years ago. It's not actually that long ago. We're not that old, but some time ago. It's called Pacific Time Zone, and it's kind of broken into little parts. I won't read everyone, but I definitely wanted a chance to read the first part, which was about LA. The other two parts are Reno and Portland. Not stiff competition, but I'm also making fun of someone in the audience. So this is Pacific Time Zone, or at least the first half. LA. Our moment is Our moment is out of time like a Babylonian battery. Today, prosody is an algorithm not for poetry, but for ads and combatants for their blockers. Pinches of faith on the browned spoon. The smack of tired, greased-up hands of the social masses. Mindfulness, the opiate of Lyft drivers and Pilates coaches, and these claims all run staccato and lost in lists of replies. Have you checked your CoStar today? Mine said, proceed with your story. These streets are smeared with the suffering succotash of the gig economy. You accumulate capital at any time if you have the right phone or half-broken car plus the wrong generation. We play with the World Trade center Lego set on the opposite shoreline. Builded up like London Bridge, one following the playground, shouting like the last black crumbs of weed, marathoning across from the crematory bowl to below the mouthpiece. And today the answers are crystal clear, with the steam-pressed yoga mats are gifts of mass production, retail samadhi, or Sanskrit, or wisdom in Sanskrit, I believe. Let the good times roll, with the Hunter S. Thompson costumes and vintage time and driving drugs with the kids who want to relive a time, out of ours. Now look at our hands broken and our fingers crushed underneath boiling rocks. Hungry ghosts and the other gimmicks of mortality are coming to roost. What let's abolish the coffee shops and fresh prints the air. Liberate the caffeine so that we may never feel tired again. Next, the thrift stores for our second hands and swear an oath to Henry VIII that we'll sack them like a Welsh monastery, but for a gig, nay a gag, instead of iconoclasm and divorce. They get it all for free anyway. Laugh track. We'll bleed the tattoo parlors dry just for their ink and the pensive thought pieces, finally in the rain where the blotted black lines run wet. In the puddles where there's no consequence for the epiphanies, which aren't deep, why stop there? Drag our picturesque pitchforks to the hipster grocery stores, break down their self-checkout. Yes, all the green saints of vice with their purple psychiatry, lusting in languish for answers. Their world's on fire for a moth's heart. Pray for its wings. And speak slowly for the gods. They've heard it all before. Their ancient wisdom is at our fingertips, the ones with tendinitis. But they hold the Buddha at gunpoint for a breath. Hot-spurred, we begin to harrow our cool blue hell. Dissect our doom. Rouse and rotund around a plastic rosary between our toes, the fingers still broken. That's LA, everyone. Thank you. By the way, Jimmy, how are we doing on time? Okay. Just check in. Read some more. I got something for you. So, in terms of longer poems, there is one I wanted to read more or less in full. I don't know. It's about poetry. It's about roadkill. It's about just kind of day trips to the desert. Not camping overnight in the desert. That is a very different vibe. That is a very different poem. I am not talking about camping overnight in the desert, but a trip to Joshua Tree. So this is roadkill rhymes for the body, for the bodies. And it's broken into 5 bodies, 5 little parts. So the first one, a cracked California condor skull. Life is a game of line breaks, where the syntax trails off and the diction dies between the clay of words and their goddamn mortal puzzles. Sore loser I, trapped in the images I refuse to finish. Monopoly during a summer evening on a too-poor patio table is where I laid my first critique of Capital, and still no time comes to mind where I have won. Punctuation has never helped or stilled the storms of a raging bowl cut. Not even all the apostrophes to the day trips and the curious cadavers we saw along the way. 2. Raccoon Mother. Flailing across the Palm Desert where the wind is pink, where the suburbs' radiation melts down a little, where the 90s art films and music videos found a canvas, beat and done. The sand-bitten maroon Cadillac in Aunt Susie's driveway bears a strong resemblance to those times. All along the 10 diagonal to Vegas, having lost count of all the sleepy meth head diners with the catch-all arcade machines. I struggle and sputter to count meter to myself and others, like in Milton and his incelled white-lied Cretan thoughts. But also the rhythms in my own body's recovery from the poignant posture that defines my whole generation. Upon remembering a loitering evening or squatter summer, I no longer glaze over the health of my spine. The body's grammar lies ill-fitting on the pages that try to parse it. Broken images, humor's conjugation. 3. Coyote Father. Anonymous, I drive by the vacated duplexes of poetry, credit check acquired, out easterly, cornered in our dust-laden avenues, just outside the dead downtown theory, and pygmy high-rises of unwarranted cosmic criticism. Still, I find no place quite as rich as convenience stores that never close. The word for zoning semblances is stretched by and through our houses divided on lease, confession, tuition, and prestige. A millennium of ivory towers screech from the ashes of forlorn lineages, Titan to Olympian. Hermes, I'll muster the courage to dedicate myself to you one day. 4. Possum family. Poetry is 100 unguzzled lines, all born bastards to gritting syllables for mothers. The question of raising them is of the flint rock or cliff left up to a midwife from antiquity. She'll sear them to phrase or toss them to the ether of left-behind bed thoughts for them to float in these flames, mere scaffolding to a mid-rise tower. Is to bear feelings in a face. Such scattered poems will grow up to be like their fathers. Nothing like how their fathers want themselves to be seen. No less not wanting themselves to be seen as their fathers. Fathers are poetry when they inspire so much of it. With crushed velvet jeers and chicken scratch hugs, always with the wings to fly, fucked off. Amethyst skin after the curls and hurls of their love purpled by the words of unkempt dreams gone fuzzy in the fridge. These declines into death beget the poems worthy of no title or glory because they have to be bastards. Fatherhood is out of the equation. Interpretation, the final usurping the throne of dukkha, or in Sanskrit, suffering, snuffs us into the summerland and downs the dregs of ankles broken and skulls galvanized in pieces 20 down her cliff. With the dregs bulging ink more our spit or blood, fishing for the marks of onion chive, foam highways. The way watching the shores from the sun's pivot, inheriting the memories that all the Polaroid hipsters could not take. The butts of nicotine streams comatose on the cement liminal. The edgy overture of long nights spent away from home and further from the road. There's been no major renovation in transportation infrastructure since Kerouac, and my peers wonder why Rupee Kaur sells. 5. A peeled away lizard tail. My dearest wish is to be taken back to the water park outside my hometown where the gods are stuck on their invisible canals or marinating in the sand. Sometimes these dreams were forced to die because we cherish them too hard with the cream of eyes and hands, the cancer of sensation, the broken lands of touch and experience, their industries stripping the page of scratches and siphoning all that make a rose romantic. After the funeral, we can newly purpose our fleshy vessels to an experience that is less of a chore and fashion into a vehicle for transit over a fresh highway. Flying, whooshing, and profligating like a head's weightlessness as a roller coaster goer, navigating a trail of enlightened deserts, where the body retires in Palm Springs and dresses in pink button-ups, and the words take a vow of silence in a Veronese villa, all blown back by a westerly wind, and the servile cracks widen age and its tender lesson. There is no pain in words. It is but all they are. Thank you. Okay. At least 2 more? Cool. All right. Just teasing. All right, so we got this. Yeah, that works. So this is sun bleached. I think this is around the time where I finally really started making images that made sense, which was a big deal for me. So I don't know. There's a couple in here. A lot of it. Now let me just take a poll of the audience. Does anyone have dreams and blockbusters? I can't be the only one.
Like the store?
Yeah, like the store.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not the only. Okay, cool. All right. So this is kind of inspired by that, and just I don't know, media nostalgia. I mean, who doesn't love a good remake or a bad one, right? So this is sun-bleached. Blood orange horizon over beaten blue minivan. The wheels cauterize by roads left. This is how I remember my very first sunrise, washing the crowning rays down with a fast food breakfast, silver dollar-sized pancakes, and me just as slim, just after an infancy with the sickly sort of stomach, syrup, maple and heritage, and co-opted by corn, emanated and hovered over flapjacks like the entrails of a one-night stand of Apollo Phoebus. I knew no better, nor was I any wiser churned than the store-born butter, a meal mass-made for an aesthetic of happiness. Today, more than usual, these stars, the sun's compatriots, are deep as they are dead. Their electric pulses are paused like the flaw poster rotundas of a streaming service's interface. That medium itself serves as some electronic eulogy to video rental stores gone by. Believe it or not, they'll stage the backdrops of my dreams before the stars do, with plot holes like a moth-bitten Bayeux tapestry. Each time I rewind the river where time's stinging nettles weed the threshing floor, where one crafts the unconscious. So as to say, I carouse the zigzagging and unkempt aisles, magnetic tape lassoing the doctored times. There is no polish or VCR head cleaner that can alleviate time's grain, and the rough meal for the souls it feeds. Nostalgia and marketing appeals to the disenfranchised whose fungi-fraught food keep their hallucinations of mid-morning wishes. Next course, I swallow a memory after the sort, and leave room for the sweet fatigue of entertainment's bloody throes. So maybe tonight I'll find something to stream, another world to rent, turning my astrolabe away from the constellations of broken pipes and piss and towards an orange VHS, filled longingly with predictable scenes of pancakes and sunshine rubbing my senses like a wild midnight masseuse. Stars skinned like potatoes and their shavings shimmering. Thank you. I'm all one for the double entendre, but I did not realize, I really don't know how this fit in there, but does anyone in the audience know what poppers are? So apparently it's a euphemism. If you go up to whatever head shop I suppose you're buying them from, if you say I want VCR head cleaner, or at least if you did back in the day, that's what they would give you. So I had no idea. I'm just fascinated by VHS and magnetic tape as a medium. So anyway, let's see. Yes, the crescendo. Okay, so here's a longer one, a sadder one, for some. This is called Patroclus, and I wrote this about a friend who definitely could not be here tonight, but he would be. Before I had nose whisked away all through the tone-deaf, broken metrics in paperback translations of the Iliad or Odyssey, I knew you were my Patroclus. Don't let me exploit you in just a few sentences now. Rip those coins off your eyes and play slots and slumbersome seances with your last hands. There's a small garden for you now, churned with finger-painted rocks, St. Francis statues, fairy homes, human handcrafted, and the chiming bells, from whom I plead for synchronistic tones. You can find me on a bench there, ruminating on the rasps within your throated calls of a male siren. I can't remember what you sound like, so I fill the vacuum with playlists. Chili peppers salted throughout. Here, astrally, I can return to a house party with that glass, steel, humble patio table and some simple instruments in front of us. The beat-up fender with the stickers from KFC and the Breeders. Vegetarian and curious, the meat chunks in the sky withheld themselves. You, the company of a certain flower, unfazed by his own beauty, though tainted by the ungodly weight of the nuclear family. Disappear again into the myth's own meadows and the ponds for time's flora, with lily pads and regal eggs teeming atop. Here I carouse the pastoral arcade, where you shoot a sign, a text, an auto-elegy, put a unicorn in the stars dim, dumbed, and darkened, they skip into battle for us, like an elementary school play. I can pretend then that our friendship was Trojan, a fruitive creation, an iridescent obsidian stallion like your coated, contagious tongues. For toppling towers towards tourney tiers and titles, waves. Addiction is a dialogue that no oracle can make sense of. Sweet tea, camel wides, plastic chairs, and stale beer. Under the broken yolk of swallow eggs, secrets sucked out like the salamander venom and spit. Out onto the crude scribbles in the sands and ocean suds of the shore on fire. Our lives shuttled between drunken uncles demanding the music we couldn't provide. Churches with padlocks and electric fences with snakes for eyes and knives for arms. For a few brief hours, all that swept by conversation and distractions, nesting our dreams. Freer then to crack open unto a perfect cast iron pan of predetermination. With all the wars fought over spices, we seasoned ourselves haphazardly. Like there wasn't a small bag of oregano at the bodega down the street, the one with a smoke shop next to it, full of blacklight posters and sword canes beside the hookah pens. Evenings of love and mutual enabling on a genie's last hesitant wish, or by whatever interfaith dialogue you'd still prefer. You always knew how to make an exit that night. Months later, when you ran across the overpass, you learned to bless the whole Interstate 5 like a scapegoat forgotten in the garbage dump outside the Temple of Banias, saturating the road with disembodied and suburban relics from the asphalt rain, with fried lyre strains from anachronistic troubadours, fingering a swelling and mesmerizing solo in a titanic scale. A messenger pigeon came to me bearing the news in a tobacco wrap the night after, on account of bad traffic. It scurried through a passenger window, as I did faint into the wings of shock. From there I was led upside down, flutes blaring the pitches of denial. I was dragged along for a torrid ride, down some stream by the Styx. I used a screwdriver to make a pipe out of a pomegranate and stuffed it with all I could find. I gave myself up to the gods there, and they let me rest on a mattress of leaves until the summer came, salting and sun-drying my eyes. In that golden-aged year, I learned that grief is a place you go, where you hang out with dryads with tall tails dripping off their boughs, just to fill Apollo's bird baths with coins at the bottom. I snuck 2 gold doubloons, the ones speckling your peppercorn soul wells, squinting and shimmering through the spokes of fortune's wheel, off from the wrong spin cycle, where I had been jammed and washed out, where I put my last pitiful cry of the eternal boy. Even Pan died once. I met you when you were halfway to Hades, cluster of free flowers on a pyre of youth that left by time to gone rituals of loss. You were a variant on tragedy, the goat song that only rolls around once a generation, whereby an iron-aged church now overtaken by vines and ivy, et in Arcadio ego, I too in Arcadia, festers on a pillar by the road, long gone ages echo. When I whisper the lyrics from my 90s Spotify daily mix, driving somewhere, it is the only entrance I know to the meadow where the scars are visible, irrigating a pasture where friendship may rise perennially, just besides the remnants of a forgotten battlefield from antiquity where I raise sheep for counting before sleep, rams that bleat like boys, in a voice I don't recall, though a mumbled rock tune, in a soft and manly note, the same tune and timbre of your tale, which I mutter to myself too often when I am finally alone. Thank you. How are we looking, Jamie? Okay, cool. Well, now that I've combed through a lot of this, maybe I can... I don't know, people seem to like this one. I don't dislike it, I was just kind of surprised. This is definitely, I don't know, one of the more I don't know, kind of devotional, just outright pagan things that I put in the book. So it's a green homily, as in a prayer. Lord of horns, from the grain in the fields to the calluses on my big toes, raise me away into the mazes of rejuvenation. Lay your hands across the spokes of fortune's wheel. Steer the cornfields of time with cheer and folly. Let not sustenance rule the call of the poets, but a relishment of the details between the cracks of death and its music of mischievous dominion. Run me past the aqueducts of misery, waft me, sift me, collaborate the portions of my soul unmother seen. Prepare me for a harvest of nines and nuns, and knead me in those moments, in meadows and prices of pearls. Craft me into a homily of the earth and its green spots. Thank you. All right. Does anyone in the room like meter, poetic meter? You know, it took me forever to learn it. Between, I don't know, dyslexia, ADHD, whatever. Eventually, like, I know what it is now, but it took me forever. So this is not so much a meter poem, but definitely like an alliterative one. Beowulf is a coworker of mine, let's say, and I frequently, work with Old English, although my dissertation, wow, that's a big thing to say. But the dissertation I'm planning is more so on like the later part of the Middle Ages, whereas Beowulf would be earlier. But so this is A Father is a Brother, and just kind of me playing around with some. I don't like saying Anglo-Saxon meter because of the whole white Anglo-Saxon Protestant thing. Also, too, it's an awful and inaccurate term. So I would just say Old English. If someone says Anglo-Saxon in front of you, just relay this. If an Anglo and a Saxon knew what a Protestant was, these big, burly, probably gay, medieval Vikings, they would kill them. There has never been an Anglo-Saxon Protestant. It's made up. So that's just me. A father is a brother. 1999, tribulation incoming. Grandma grieves with a broken neck to heal slow, given the garnish garlic of outliving your children. Galloping gallantly, I come into a room we share, gaily, giggling in grace. She has pheromones from the ghastly and gagged up old Midwest. Rose water and golden calves, grommets of old money. Maybe it's Dutch, German, Gaulish, Gamorrean, some forgotten pedigree. Her blood is gone from the greed of love. In the room I greet Grandma with a wooden train in hand, gripped with glee, and give a break from death's constancy. Graves hers and his in the good cupboard, urns anonymous. Gray soot grazing the gaunt, absent man, like his gaze of the globe from his last glass. Their souls always spread in segways and spirals, a rolling and rustic railway from station to station, now lawning some souls sag and slip, slumped in karma. We grieve those sometimes who sadly we never get to know. Patrus, the second son, he's caught up in the magnetic tape, silent shots of time. He's my father's brother, sojourning slyly in the suburbs of Eden. Both sought semblance as siblings for one fratricidal yoke, simmering, smoking, searing eggs as familial libations. Salmon with King Solomon's secret sauce to grease the wheels of road trips, starving in snake nests and cobra eggs cracked, hoods of serpents salient from sunny severance. My toy and uncle share names, an epimonious elegy, with an oblong obituary electrically effaced and strayed away from my mind. Escargot emissaries of fate and fortune alienate us all, as would elections segregated by a tyrant's touch. Destiny duly admits egregious dealings. Their cards are jet black. Erasure and envy fill me with words and obligations, emotions empty, void, vapid, distracting. Every experience I've had with perfection, even on ecstasy, elevator, butterfly, stomach aches, every and evenly after, fleeting with the winds of eternal afterlife. a family broken up by death and exorcism and exhibition. And sometimes I think of some paternal revelations guarded I was in gates of the shepherd's flock in old years gone by, grandpa's gold marinated in purgatory's distillery, ghosts of great hunger, food, stuff, souls. Thank you. How about a live debut? I don't think I've read this aloud. Well, to someone, but not to any of you, I guess. Or to any of the other shows I've done recently. In Suffocating Darkness. The park was closed, though without signage nor doors, still open for business as you were. I sat with my pack, an unsavory kind, and my camels with their humps at this Wonderland silent auction. The souls with the tea, where you'd find me, and the buttered bread in the company of sugared blood. You were deliciously enveloped in the rhythms of sin. You were just freckles on the nose of Marcus Aurelius. You were candy to dead germs gnashing at dopamine receptors. These fish hooks were out of season on a lawn boat in the Caribbean. The park at night was just a vessel for Dionysus, rituals of dancing olfactorily. A camel on the shore to wave you down, silly boat. Our friendship a harbor, a port of deaths and entrances. Trade envoys exchanging sadness for acceptance and clearance forms from the lighthouse on the stone beach I am burning at. Camel red in mouth. Watching you and nameless rabbits insufflate darkness and rattle your skulls. Wasted on the shell-less shorelines. Thank you. Well, I got these two little things that bookend book, little things, poems. But again, kind of like opening and both closing with scenes of Faunalia. I think also too something to note that I didn't really realize until I was editing everything that also how much a lot of this Faunalia bears resemblance to Juvenalia, right? Like someone's younger work. This is not to say this is all teenage love poetry. I assure you, that's a different collection. That collection is gone. That is a lost manuscript to time. But I think there is something about I don't know, seeing youth and juvenalia and in poetry, both in the sense of like this is younger work, but then also work about like younger selves. So this one is Puck's Nest, or Faunalia in July. At the earlier inklings of a mischievous summer, help us make a rambunctious rendezvous past midnight, under the broken streetlight, a joint of an arboreal cul-de-sac just out of our line of sight. Break out the hurdy-gurdy for a funny chorus, one we can capture on an old cassette recorder, lifted from a thrift store dumpster. Let the sweet syllables ramble and ripple in your solar plexus, hearkening back to the time where your youth learned to weaponize its ramshackled innocence. Our earth flushed scarlet in desire for some damned whimsy. Next, hop the fence, one after another, then climb concave down the concrete riverbeds towards those catacombs filled with graffiti, bats, and a cybergoth haze, where the 20th century met its end in the expiration of privacy and its panopticon. Curiosity will keep us all born again, and one day still our brain fog shall shudder to enlightenment's gaze over the horizon of the Summerland, where music diffuses like a dice throw in a shuffle sway, carving the path to our parties, we pieces of a eternal dialogue, seeping and deepening talks all night and day, where we beheld one another and witnessed to life's working class buffet, eating with shrimps for fingers, mistakes dripped in the ruckus, and dins all to decipher alchemy from tomfoolery, and to the land of Puck we'll sail away. Aboard our vessel of light and smoke, carrying ourselves to send a blessing to growth's rancor for fertile compost. Shortly after fortune will wrestle her wheels, and then we shall plunge to old degrees cardinal, soon gone from the sacred trails that we have held in common. Hold on to our precious nonsense for old time. Let it break brightly through your pupils. Save room for your glassy eyes twinkle, your graceful aging, and your final sugar tears. Thank you. I guess if I were to close, I have four short lines. There we go. Consonants. Anyway, 4 short lines translated from the Roman poet Horace. This is from Book 3 of his Odes, number 18. I was buying myself time to see if I wanted to read the Latin aloud. So here's the Latin original in my best Roman accent. Faunae nympharum fugigentum amator per meos finis aprica rura lenes inceras imbesasque paris aequus omnis. Faunus, lover of the vanishing nymphs, may you march through my sunny and mild homestead, and as you depart, a little goodwill for all the newborn kids. Horace, he owned a goat farm. The big joke. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Maybe we can get Doris and Jimmy up here. Come on. All right. Well, at the very least, a selfie, but I'm sure other folks will be taking pictures. Well, I gotta say, this has been. Do you remember that one Power Rangers episode where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles met? This is the late 90s. It's kind of like that. There's a bunch of worlds colliding. I went to high school with Doris. I finished my BA at UCLA with Jimmy. And, it's very humbling to have like different poetic kind of peers throughout life. And just thank you two so much for wanting to do a little silly thing with me. So,
Thank you, yeah.
Group hug. I don't know. Is that cool? All right, well, there is time for books to be bought, to be sold, to be signed. I also, just gonna say it again, if you have some money to spare, or more than that, especially, come on, any trust funds in here? Anyway, donating to the Trans Latina Coalition, or really just any number of trans mutual aid organizations, it's a really big deal. This is not like some little PBS, oh, here, I'm asking for stuff. It's a little bit more imperative. So thank you all so much. This has been incredibly cool. Thank you.